Welcome to part 17 of the Dargslan series, where we tackle one of the most important upgrades you can give a local language model, tool calling. Here's the core problem. LLMs are brilliant with words, but ask one to multiply 23 by 47, check the weather, or look up live data, and you're rolling dice. Tool calling fixes that. You define Python functions, describe them with JSON schemas, and the model decides when to call them and with what arguments, turning a text predictor into something that actually acts. So why do we even need tools? Because a model on its own is just a next token guesser. Ask Llama 3.1.8b for 9847 times 1234, and it will hand you a confident wrong answer. A calculator function simply can't be wrong. It also has no concept of now, no access to your database or file system, and a strong tendency to invent facts. Give it a get-weather function and it delegates instead of hallucinating 22 degrees in Budapest. So here's the loop, and it's the same in every framework you'll touch. The user asks something, say, what's 23 times 47? The model decides a tool is needed and emits a structured call to calculator. Your code actually runs that function, sends the result, 1081, back into the conversation, and the model wraps it into a natural answer. Steps 2 through 4 can repeat. That's how you get multi-tool reasoning, where one result feeds the next decision. To make that loop work, the model needs to know what tools exist, and that starts with a schema. You write the function in Python like normal, but you also hand the LLM a JSON description, a name, a plain English description, and the parameters with their types. The model never sees your code. It only sees this schema. So treat the description like a docstring for a stranger. Vague wording here means the wrong tool gets picked, or the right tool gets called with garbage arguments. With the schema in hand, you just pass it along on the chat request. Ollama's Josh API semi-chat takes a tools field in the same shape OpenAI uses, so any tool-capable model, Llama 3.1.8b, Qwen 2.57b, will pick it up. The interesting part is the response. Instead of content, the message now comes back with tool calls, meaning the model decided it wants to invoke your function rather than answer directly. So here's what that response actually looks like. Role is assistant, content is an empty string, and tool calls carries a list, each entry naming a function and giving you arguments already parsed as JSON. From there, dispatch is just a dictionary lookup. Take the name, find the matching Python callable, splat the arguments in, and you get your result. In this case, 23 times 47 equals 1081. Don't skip validation, though. The model picked those arguments, not you. Now you close the loop. Append the assistant's original reply, tool calls and all, then append a new message with role tool carrying the result as a string. Post back to API chow chat with the same tools list, and this time the model has everything it needs to produce a real answer. 23 multiplied by 47 equals 1081. That round trip, call, execute, return, is the entire pattern. One tool is fine for a demo, but real systems have many. Resist the urge to write a giant if-else that scales terribly. Instead, keep a dictionary mapping each tool name to its function and a parallel list of schemas you hand to the model. Then your dispatch collapses to a single line, tool's name called with the arguments dictd. Add a fifth tool, a 50th tool, the loop never changes. Now, none of this works if your model wasn't trained for tool calling. It's a specific capability. The model has to know how to emit that tool call structure. Llama 3.18b is the safe default, light enough to run anywhere and solid for most tools. Qwen 2.5 shines when you need clean structured output, and the 14b variant handles messier multi-tool flows more reliably. If you're unsure, run a Llama show in grep for tool or just fire a test call and check the response. With a working model in hand, let's talk about what's actually worth wiring up. Search docs is the obvious first win. Wrap your existing RAG pipeline as a tool so the model can query its own knowledge base mid-conversation. Run SQL turns plain English into real answers from your database, but keep it read-only and gate it behind an allow list of tables. Send email is powerful and dangerous. Always return a preview first and require an explicit confirmation before actually sending. And HTTP bow get turns your assistant into a researcher. Just remember to block private IPs and cap the response size before the model pulls down something enormous. Now, before you wire any of that up, here are 5 traps that have all bitten me. Vague tool descriptions like does math mean the model picks the wrong one. Be explicit. Never trust the model with destructive side effects. Require a confirmation turn before send email actually fires. Validate arguments with Pydantic or JSON schema because models will happily invent parameters. Cap your tool loop at something like 5 rounds so it can't spin forever. And double-check your model actually supports tools. Llama 3.8b doesn't. Llama 3.1 does. With those traps in mind, here are 4 tools worth building tonight, each one a single-page Python file. Start with calculator and getTime, 30 lines total, and once they work, you've internalized the whole loop. Then add weather through WTR-in, no API key, just an HTTP get that the model summarizes back to you. From there, wrap the RAG function from part 15 so the LLM decides when to search your docs, and finish with a reminders tool that posts to Todoist or a local file. Stack those 4 and your local assistant actually starts earning its keep. Now, before you go wrap everything in a tool, a quick reality check. Tool calling adds a round trip and a decision point, and sometimes that's pure overhead. If every query hits your docs anyway, just inject the context and skip the dance. If your flow is fixed, invoice in, amount out, row in the database, write the pipeline, don't ask the model to pick. And if you're hitting 1,000 URLs, loop in Python and let the LLM handle parsing, not orchestration. So let's pull the threads together. LLMs decide, tools act. That's the whole shift. The loop is always the same 5 steps. Ask, decide, run, return, answer. A tool is a function plus a clear JSON schema, and the description is what the model actually reads, so write it like you mean it. Use a model that was fine-tuned for this, Llama 3.1 or Qwen 2.5 and up. And anything destructive gets a preview, a confirmation, and validated arguments before it runs. No exceptions. And here's the whole thing on one page, worth keeping nearby. On the left, hit API saw chat, check reply, .tool, Hotchin calls, register your functions in a tools dict, stick with Llama 3.18b or similar, write descriptions that are specific, and always confirm destructive ops. On the right, pass your schemas under tools, send results back with roll tool, cap the loop at 5 iterations, Qwen 2.5 is a solid alternative, validate arguments with JSON schema or Pydantic, and block private IPs in anything that fetches URLs. That's tool calling in 12 rules. And that wraps tool calling, 17 down, 7 to go. Next time we close the loop with your voice, Whisper turning speech into text, your local LLM thinking, and Piper speaking the answer back. Same philosophy as everything we've built, entirely on your machine, no cloud, no leak. Get some rest, try the patterns from today against your own scripts, and I'll see you in part 18.